Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We are at 2656 Southwest Bray Mar Court here in Portland. Sorry, I missed part of that on my address. 2656 Southwest Bray Mar Court here in Portland. Located just at the bottom of the basement staircase here in the utility room. Got a 4-inch cast iron cleanout as our point of access. We're going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. Up ahead, we're going to get a little bit more turned on here. And I'll zero out. I guess this technically is the start of the sewer line here. It's a very unique arrangement here. This is just diving like crazy within the home. You usually don't see that till you get outside the house on the hillside. Anyway, start out 4-inch cast iron here. Off we go. And I suspect we're going to have a very steep running sewer line here. Hillside back there is steep. Alright, hit the transition here to 4-inch ABS. We're going to revisit this spot on the way out. You do have an offset joint here, and it's a pretty sizable offset. You've lost about half your diameter there. About 2 inches of height has been lost. So the thing that's been keeping this thing humming along reasonably well is the just sheer steepness of this line. If you were to put that same offset joint on just about any other house out there, that would be something that would probably manifest itself at some point. Alright, I'm going to turn the water off here for just a second. I'm approaching something. I just can't... That water is just running in a way where it's hard to see what I'm going into here. Oh, it's a turn in the line. Okay. Sorry, when I approached that at first, it almost looked like I was running into just a wall. One of the nice advantages of having a really steep hillside like this is the line in general is usually going to be quite a bit more forgiving under a blockage scenario because of that steep slope. If something does block up, you've got 10 times the head pressure building up behind it than the average sewer line would have. All right, we are stopping up right here. The set of turns we're going through is just bringing the camera to a stop. We're gonna let the thing drain off here for a moment. I'll see if I can find some other access point that'll allow us to get further than this. Oh, it's where the line switches to clay pipe. All right, so where we're stopping up here, you probably heard me mention that as I turn the camera back on. We're stopping at the transition to clay pipe. It's hard to get a good view of that spot there, but it's likely 6-inch clay. That's very typical of this era of home up in this part of town. And part of the reason I mentioned that is finding a clean out access on this hillside that's going to allow us to surpass that point may not be a terribly easy thing to do. It's a very, very steep hillside with a lot of foliage on it. Even if you have a clean out, sometimes you got to do some serious bushwhacking just to be able to get enough space to set up a camera. So if we can't get further, it would probably be worthwhile to see if records would show you if when they did this update, if they stopped at the end of homeowner responsibility. My guess is that it's probably the case here, being that just running a sewer line out to 143 feet on a hillside like this is no easy undertaking to begin with. So to me, it seems like someone willing to go to that effort would go to the end of where they need to go to. So my assumption here is that's probably where homeowners' responsibility ends and cities takes over, but it's hard to say. Now we have a little bit of standing water out here. This is on a line like this steep. For the average sewer line, that standing water there is hardly worth talking about. It's so minor. On a hillside like this, it's an absolute just non-issue whatsoever. It's way too minor. Even if the line were completely submerged with 4 inches of standing water at the base of that hillside, it would still never result in a backup. Not unless you were feeding this thing a healthy diet of paper towels and wipes all day long. Even then, it would struggle to back up. My main concern on this one, the most likely spot in the line to cause any kind of issue at all, is the offset. Beyond that, not that there couldn't be issues out beyond where we stopped there, but on a hillside this steep, your issues need to be very, very severe. The line itself has to just about be causing a complete blockage on its own in order to back up a hillside this steep. A lot of gravity working in your favor here. And the homeowners here have done a great job keeping this line clean. There is basically no grease buildup whatsoever. All right, we're going to see if we can find this. This does appear to be a secondary access point here. All right, so luckily, hopefully luckily anyway, we do have a clean out just before the line drops off this extra steep part of the hillside back here. So, in fact, you may actually have two clean outs back to back. They're only about 5 feet apart. One's right at the just before the hillside really dives, and the other one's almost underneath the decking next to a piece of storm system pipe, it looks like. I'm hoping that'll allow us to bypass enough pipe that it lets us get beyond that point. It may not. I've done almost 25,000 sewer scopes in the 13 years I've been doing this. Normally these lines are this steep, you can about just let the camera go and it'll just run to the end of the sewer line. This one's got enough turns in it that it's actually quite difficult to get the camera to go through it, unfortunately. So those turns up there may end up still stopping us. We shall see. That was just a little bit of toilet paper and debris there on the inside turn. That's all that is. Alright, I'm going to see if I can locate where this is at really quick here. On these steep hills like this, these can be very difficult. There are better locating systems for really steep hillsides like this. So I'll at least try and get an idea as to where it's at, but it's probably a spot where you may need some relocating done to really pinpoint it. All right, well, I'm hoping the cleanout I found is indeed the one. That one may be for a storm system. There's a couple of very obvious black ABS cleanouts that are closer to kind of the back left corner. If you are facing the front of the house from the street, that's how I try to describe everything. Where we're situated right now, the line is coming out of the house approximately about a third of the way in from the right side wall of the house. The other ABS piping I'm seeing is about a third of the way in from the left side of the house. They're a fair distance from each other. Right here, though, my locate is coming in very, very bizarre. I think where this is at is about where the cast iron pipe. It daylight, you can actually see it underneath the home. It's covered in a bunch of insulation, and then it pops out of that. You can see the cast iron dive into the dirt. Where I think we are is just after that pipe dives into the dirt, but it's very hard to tell. The locate signal I'm getting is coming in. I'm getting locate signals across about a 10 to 15 foot area because of the steep angle that both the hillside and the line are running at. It's not one I'm going to put paint down on the ground for because I just can't pinpoint it or even get close to pinpointing it. I am going to recommend a repair there on the offset. That offset is large enough there that it can indeed cause a problem. You know, if the line's being treated really nicely, there's low volume going through it. You know, from what I'm seeing right now, things are getting through there. I'm not seeing a bunch of blockage evidence, but when you've lost 50% of the diameter of the pipe and you've got an obstruction like that for stuff to run into, it's a spot where a blockage can indeed happen. So that's why I'm recommending a fix on that. You know, if it were an inch offset, I'd probably feel a little bit differently about it because you'd still have at least a 3-inch tall pipe by 4 inches, but right now you're 2 inches by 4 inches. You're under the minimum diameter size for even a small home, which is plumbed in at minimum 3-inch pipe. So if repairs do happen, make sure a rescope is performed and check the work, and you want to do that after the line is buried, not beforehand, or you're not going to catch any settling issues like you currently have here. All right, I'm going to go open up one of those cleanouts here. We're going to turn water back on. And I'm hoping that water goes through that cleanout. Otherwise, wherever the other cleanouts may be are going to be off the hillside somewhere, which is quite an undertaking to actually get to that stuff. Often require weed whackers and things like that to actually open up a space to even find it, let alone set up on it. So beyond the offset joint, the rest of the line we scoped here up to the clay transition and the cast iron for that matter, prior to the offset, all of it is in good condition, has great flow, and is functioning properly. Overall, when you include the offset in there, line is functioning, but it is draining slower. At least solids-wise are at a higher risk there for hanging up and potentially getting a blockage in the line. So I'm recommending the fix on it. If it doesn't get repaired for some reason, I would highly recommend you rescope the line at the 1 year mark. Especially if this home is going from like 2 people to a home with 2 adults and 3 kids, where you have a lot higher volume going through it. That's to check for buildup, to see if there's anything you can do to help, change certain lifestyles and habits up to help prevent buildup from occurring. The big stuff is avoid improper items, wipes, paper towels, flushable wipes, things like that. Stuff that if it does get hung up, will not disintegrate on its own. That you want to make sure stuff going down this is stuff that easily disintegrates.